Hi neighbor, I'm Jillian Miller. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for the City of North Liberty, and I'm sitting down here with Keisha Field. She's on the Communications Advisory Commission. We just launched the Great Neighborhoods Initiative and recruitment for neighborhood ambassadors recently. And you've been a part of that conversation for several months now in the development. And I wanted to just hear maybe just a little background on what have neighborhoods been for you? What's been your experience?
Neighborhood's been for me more like a individual type experience. I haven't been able to actually connect with my neighbors on a deeper level where, I walk down the street and I can wave to every neighbor and say, "Hi, Bob." I just know 2 on my street at the present time. I've been very envious of other neighborhoods that have done more initiative to getting to know one another. So I'm very happy about this starting off and me being a part of that.
How long have you lived where you currently live?
For about, I can't do math, but since 2011.
Yeah, see, that's so sad to not know more people on the street. And I don't think you're an exception. I think that a lot of people feel that way. I think that people tend to, especially for the 6 months when it's so cold out, just drive right into their garages, shut the door. And I can understand that it's cold out. But even in the summer months, it tends to, we migrate towards people that maybe look or have a similar family makeup to ours. And then we don't get to know many others, or we only socialize with people that are our friends that live in other neighborhoods rather than just the people next door. I grew up with a super close neighborhood. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. And as I grew older, I realized that's not what everyone has had. And I still yearn for that. I've lived in my home here in North Liberty for 7 years now. And we have a great neighborhood. I feel very welcome when I'm going on walks and know a lot of familiar faces. But I'm also guilty of 2 doors down, I don't know their name.
Yeah.
I think we all have a lot of room to grow there. And that's why I'm excited about this initiative too.
Definitely. What are the goals for the city in developing this initiative?
The goal is really to build better relationships between residents with each other and then residents with the city. We really want to address a communication gap that's happening between residents in the city. And I think, again, that's not, unique to our city.
Yeah.
I think every city struggles to make sure that they connect with people that aren't already getting their emails or on their social media. People that maybe don't have the schedules to be engaged with council meetings or know someone that they can pick up the phone and text someone that works at the city and get a question answered. So the real goal is to help bridge that information gap and really increase the quality of life for everyone that lives here.
Yeah, which I think is great because word of mouth is always better than, depending on social media. If one of my neighbors told me, she was like, "I seen you in the paper." And I was like, I didn't even know that was in the paper, but thank you for telling me. So just having that human connection it's great, and you can learn a lot from your neighbors.
And I think the pandemic that we're in now is just increase that need, one, for connection, even though it looks different, but also that we need to lean on each other.
Yeah.
People are going through school that looks a lot different this year. They're relying on neighbors. Maybe they're taking turns with some virtual schooling, or they're, helping each other when they're really, that may be your only social interaction is on a walk. So I think that connection is so important. We decided to break it down to 29 neighborhoods. And I know one question that I've already gotten is, well, why those 29 neighborhoods? And we looked at a couple different things, but mainly the boundaries that we've drawn for the ambassador neighborhood divisions is based on Nextdoor. If you're familiar, everyone, people are pretty familiar with Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, but Nextdoor is a different type of social media, and it allows residents who are already members, which we have a lot of people already engaged on it, to message people in their neighborhood. And where Nextdoor draws those boundaries is where we drew the boundaries, because it's something we can measure, the amount of engagement and the number of people that are active on it and have claimed accounts on it. And the ambassadors ultimately can communicate that as one of their methods, and it gets to the people in their area. So it will continue to develop, but that's definitely been a frequent question I've gotten.
What about those hard to reach areas in the city where you see that there's not a lot of participation, whether it's in Nextdoor or just communication wise? How are you focusing on getting those neighborhoods involved?
it'd be really nice to have neighborhood ambassadors in place to recruit neighborhood ambassadors to do just that. But to start bridging that, we're looking at doing some postcard mailing to particular neighborhoods, certainly word of mouth, trying to reach out to as many different groups, people on commissions, people that have shown engagement, applied for commissions, applied for council, ran for council in the past, city staff, businesses, the pantry, trying to reach everyone that can help spread the word about this, providing flyers for it, getting it in other people's email lists, some social media ads. We'll be trying to get some radio interviews, and we might have to just go knock on some doors as much as we can in a pandemic. We are also hosting some, Q&As online as we can. But I'm always there for someone to reach me with phone or email. But knowing that we can't reach everyone, I'm really hoping that some mailers and word of mouth, it's going to be grassroots. And I don't see this having all the ambassadors in place in a couple of weeks. I see this as that would be ideal, but it's going to be building this framework, building this foundation, and then start putting the ambassadors to work. But really, I see a lot of the movement and the things we can see changing in 2021.
So how about recruitment wise? Like, who is that ideal neighbor who's going to be a great ambassador? What we're looking for?
Definitely someone that, now they this might be the first time they really step outside their comfort zone, but someone that's willing to be like, hey, I'm Jillian and I live down the street, and I'm sorry that I have not introduced myself to you before, but I'm gonna, someone that's gonna go out of their comfort zone and really start conversations with people they don't know. Someone that has some tech savvy that would understand how to do some of the digital sharing we're looking for. And then also someone that either has some ideas for enabling group activities or is comfortable recruiting someone else in their neighborhood to be there with them and be like, hey, maybe I'll help spread the word or drop flyers off or tell my neighbors things on the streets. And then maybe you can plan some group activities, which we have several ideas like painting storm drains, block parties, cleanup days, book clubs. And someone might be not wanting to be that event planner. That doesn't mean they can't be an ambassador. It's okay for some neighbors to maybe tag team this too. I've seen a husband and wife apply together so far, and he's like, I'm going to be that information guy, and she's going to be that coordinator of the block parties and the kids gatherings and book clubs. So I think that we're really looking for someone that's passionate about North Liberty, is willing to learn new things, that definitely values diversity and inclusion. We want someone to break up. If some neighborhoods have existing cliques, we want to make sure that people feel like they can join those groups and feel like whether they just moved in or moved there 10 years ago, it's not too late to get connected.
One thing I really like about this initiative is that you're adding a training component for the ambassadors, so that they're not just, you're like, here you go ahead and be an ambassador. Can you speak more about that?
Yeah, we don't have all of the trainings laid out yet, but what we will be doing is offering the ambassadors an opportunity to attend trainings that the city staff already goes through. That could be implicit bias training, stereotype training, all the different things that we all need to improve on. We'll be providing that for them to join city staff on those ongoing trainings and create some of their own. I'll definitely also be having regular communication with ambassadors, not only via email, but some in person, hopefully, but for the meantime now some virtual meetings to not only let them get to know each other, but to update them on, okay, we're going into this season. These are some common questions we get in the city, and this is the why behind some of those answers, so that they can feel educated about that. So a mixture of digital trainings, in-person trainings or meetings, and just making sure that they feel like they could collect questions or kind of know what the question on the block is and know who to call and get that why, or already know the why because of conversations we've already had, and feel like they can really explain that. And if it doesn't make sense and no one really agrees with the why behind an answer, like, let's be challenged and let's see what we can do about that.
Another thing that we forgot to mention or talk about was just that feedback component from the ambassador. So them being a voice for those individuals that feel like they don't have a place where to turn to offer feedback to the city. So I just think that's the great, absolute amazing component of it, because people don't know where to go. People don't know how to submit that feedback, and trusting in a neighbor, like knowing that they'll provide that to the city, that's great. And then another thing that I was excited about was like the component of events. And one of them was, what is it? A pool party? Like, oh. I was so excited about that. Can you talk more about it?
I guess I should just go back really quick and explain that, besides talking to the Communications Commission, obviously that you sit on, talk to the city administrator, talk to all department heads of different departments of the city and other city staff, and gathered all their ideas, showed them the outline of this, said, how could your department benefit from this and how could you contribute to it? So anything from the fire department saying, well, we'd love to go out to neighborhoods and do fire prevention for all ages, bring the fire truck out, to the library saying, well, maybe we'll do a leaderboard of summer reading program, like neighborhood rankings, who's participating more and encouraging that, to the rec center. The rec department is looking at, coming out and doing some pop-up activities on the streets or in the parks. And another idea that we discussed was, well, could we provide an environment like a pool party where neighbors don't feel weird because they've never been to that person's driveway to go hang out? It's like a block party bed at the pool, very neutral ground that maybe your neighborhood could just reserve for just you, and you're going to naturally start talking to people, and then you'll feel more comfortable when you're on a walk later that week.
Yeah.
So all the details as to what days the reservations will be available, what's all entailed with that, will be coming out into 2021 once we approach that, and maybe the pandemic allows for it. But ideas like that, which we have like a dozen or so already on our website, we want to also get ideas from the ambassadors. And even in the applications that have come through already, I'm getting some really good ideas. So we're open to that.
So when is the official, I guess, like start date of selecting ambassadors?
So right now we're asking for applications to get in by the end of October. And then we will look, weed through those as staff and with the commission to basically, select and do some calls and just get to know everyone that applied and understand what their interest and motivation is behind being an ambassador. And then we'll select 1 to 3 ambassadors for each neighborhood, which, ideally we want at least 1, but some neighborhoods, based on the boundaries I described via Nextdoor, need 2 or 3 just because of the sheer number of households. So we'll start with making sure we have 1. If there's more than 1 that we feel is a good fit, we'll do that. And then, I think it's going to start with just that digital communication of onboarding them, which I hope would happen right at the end of the year. And then, working with kind of building that base of information sharing and the communication gap, which is ultimate goal here, and getting that really well established in that first 6 months. And then spring comes, maybe we can get into some of those more, and maybe the pandemic's in a better place. We can do some of those actual group gatherings and that event component can come in. But ongoing, our recruitment's going to be rolling basis as openings and vacancies show themselves. We'll make sure to let the public know about that.
Awesome. I'm really excited, and being a part of this whole process, I'm really excited to see all the applications come through and select individuals. And I really like the component of making sure that there's diverse amount of diversity so that everyone feels comfortable, and just offering those and just individuals that can help eliminate some of those barriers that exist within the city.
Absolutely. This is like a problem we've discussed in the commission meetings.
Yeah.
And every commission and council has talked about this, but, we need to make sure that everyone's voice is heard and that everyone's getting the same information. And so it's something that we just never really decided, how can we really make an impact? And a combination of us having those discussions over the years, plus the rebrand that the city went through last year with now our tagline, connected to what matters. We need to really be connected to each other if we're going to have that as our tagline. And then also the listening posts that happened for racial and social injustice over the summer. People want to know each other more. They want to be more comfortable with each other. They don't want to assume things about each other, but we just need a better framework for that. And between all those conversations and even the pandemic allowing staff time to really dive into this a little more, I just think that a lot of puzzle pieces have come together at the right time, at exactly the time when people need to be more connected. And I hope that this framework adopted by all the departments in the city has a ton of success that will be short-term and long-term success, and it will continually develop. And I definitely don't know exactly how it's all going to work. I'm going to want all that feedback from the ambassadors. A year from now, I could probably tell you that some things are going to be different, but it's at this point, we've gotten it to the point where now we just need everyone to be involved for us to really take it where it can go.
So with the pandemic in mind, what are some social distancing that we can do as neighborhood ambassadors so that people are not fearful of being an ambassador without,
Are you talking for like the events and stuff? So right now, I mean, I think you could do a virtual book club for your neighborhood. I think that definitely it's going to be more the ambassador's role to just be doing that communication rather than organizing events. But Placemates is an event that we've done in person, which is group potluck dinners. And we just hosted a virtual version of that. And Placemates, whether we're organizing it citywide, I think that neighbors could do that on small levels outside, or they could do virtual versions of their own. Cleanup days are a really good one too. Socially distant, the Parks Department can provide all the, vests and bags and tools to, clean up a pond near your neighborhood or a park, or go somewhere that's on a trail that's not near your neighborhood, but you can distance from each other and still do something together. Or painting a storm drain is a new opportunity. We're allowing residents to just submit a drain, and we've had several designs come through already, and you could take turns painting that. You can take turns designing that and creating some public art that you all can take pride in. So I don't want anyone to be hesitant to become an ambassador, one, because they're not an event coordinator, or they maybe don't think they have the best ideas. The ambassadors are going to share ideas with each other. I'm going to work with the ambassadors too. And maybe you're really heavy on just information sharing and not so much the group gathering. We're still a step further than we were at that point before. So any connection is good connection. And if you're a passionate person excited about that, we want to meet you where you are. We want to meet your neighborhood with the communication methods that are working and make it, successful.